Welcome everybody to Top 5 Action RPGs to look forward to in 2021. I am the Seventh Sword and now it's time. I decided to order these based off of known release date, so let's get into it, shall we? Number 5. Monster Hunter Rise, coming to Nintendo Switch and PC later, but Nintendo Switch, March 26th. That's less than a week. It's pretty close. I'm very excited. Monster Hunter is a phenomenal franchise. I got into it recently with Monster Hunter World, and I just fell in love with it. My friends have been playing it for years and been telling me to get in on it, and I finally did with World, and I'm definitely going to be getting in on Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter games boast some pretty incredible combat, and Monster Hunter World was the epitome of where that was going, and you can see that they've taken the combat elements from Monster Hunter World, and they've combined that with the old school elements from the old portable games into Monster Hunter Rise, and then they've added some new mechanics which are kind of akin to Monster Hunter Generations. There are wire bug attacks now, and every weapon has 2 unique wire bug abilities, and this kind of reminds me of weapon arts in Generations Ultimate. Long story short, you got some pretty flashy moves to pull off as long as you get the timing right, otherwise you'll just look like an idiot and get slammed by the monster. One quick thing about Monster Hunter games that still to this day sets it apart from a lot of other games out there is that once you've beaten the monster, you can take the components from that monster, and if you get a lucky carve from it, you get a rare material from the monster, you can make some pretty sweet weapons and armor, and every single armor set has different perks or traits that you can apply to your hunter, such as your stamina doesn't drain as much, you can dodge farther, things like that. That's just a couple examples. There's hundreds and hundreds of these kinds of traits in the game, and when you beat a monster and you make an armor set from those materials, what that monster does in battle and how its attributes tie into what abilities your armor would have. And that's just really, really, really awesome. And to this day, I still don't see a lot of games utilizing that kind of mechanic, where when you beat something in a game, you can get the material from it and apply it to a weapon or an armor. I mean, there are games that do it, definitely, but I think they're few and far between. Most games just make you go on fetch quests now and kill 100 enemies or something, and you power up your gun or whatever. And Monster Hunter is still really cool in the fact that you work for what you want to get, you know what you want to get, so you can target a specific monster and you have a pathway to going to get it. And I think we just need more of that in the gaming industry. Number 4. Biomutant. Biomutant is coming to, I believe, every platform out there. Except for Nintendo Switch, bruh! And Biomutant looks like a cross of many different games. It's going to be a huge open world. You're going to play as some sort of crazy mutated creature. It's got some Monster Hunter elements from it, from what I've seen from the trailers. You're fighting these big monsters one-on-one and you circle around, but that's not it too. You also fight other little enemies in the fields as well, but there are big monsters. I'm guessing the big monsters are going to have a role to play in terms of mutations. And it looks like you're going to be able to genetically edit your character and do crazy stuff and add weird stuff to your character based off of maybe what you collect in the open world, or even if you beat these gigantic monsters, or even from little ones too. It's also going to have a crafting system. The game just looks really, really cool. It blends free motion movement, it blends third-person shooting and third-person melee all together. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think a lot of people are. And it's coming out May 25th, so that's gonna be it's gonna be really exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. Number 3. Scarlet Nexus is a JRPG that is coming to pretty much every platform out there, I believe. It is coming out June 25th, so 1 month after Biomutant. So after you have fun playing Biomutant for a month, you can go ahead and pick up some Scarlet Nexus. Scarlet Nexus looks a lot like Astral Chain, and Astral Chain came out in 2019. It was a great game that came out for the Nintendo Switch. I absolutely had a blast playing it. But what's cool about Scarlet Nexus is you've got some psychic powers. It's basically, it feels a lot like an anime that you're gonna play, and I even think that they just announced that there's an anime series tied to it. It's gonna have, from what I can see from the trailers, some pretty solid third-person action combat, and you can pick up cars and fling them at these weird kind of monsters. There's, I think, a plant with legs. There's some pretty interesting monster design in the game, and that's always cool to have new, fresh ideas. We've all fought the same kind of, regular old trolls and goblins and stuff for such a long time in video games. It's nice to see some fresh new perspective of monster designs. Combat looks good, the story looks like it'd be pretty interesting, but I don't really know too much about it other than that. It's got my interest though. The trailer is definitely doing a good job. I mean, I'm one of those people that really likes JRPGs. I really like flashy combat, so this game is speaking to me, and I am excited for its release. Number 2. Tales of Arise. Release date sometime 2021. We don't really know, but it was supposed to come out in 2020, but coronavirus, I believe, put a hamper on development. Tales of Arise is the next entry in the long-running Tales of series. I started out way back on Tales of Symphonia. I've played a lot of them throughout. I've finished some and haven't finished others, but I've always been there. I've always bought the game. Sometimes they didn't really hold my interest. Other times they were phenomenal. Tales is very interesting. They have some crazy awesome good ones, and then they have some meh ones. But Tales of Arise is important because it is a huge step forward for the series in terms of not only the way the world looks, but the combat, everything. I mean, back even in Tales of Berseria, which I think is a really good game, the open world or the world design that the area that you explore, it's kind of flat. It's not really detailed. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It gets the job done. The combat and the story and the characters, that's where Tales, shines the most. But in Arise, the level of detail that you see here in the trailer for the world that you're exploring is a huge leap forward for the franchise. The combat even looks way more dynamic than even in previous games, such as Berseria. So I am extremely excited for this one. When I saw that trailer for the first time, I was like, whoa. And I mean, I'm just expecting great things from this one. I mean, maybe I'm getting my hopes a little too high for it, but I think it's going to be a really good game, and anyone who's a fan of Tales games, they will probably either love it or hate it. Number 1. Dying Light 2. Now, there are rumored release dates for this one, but we don't actually have an official release date. However, there was a teaser that recently dropped, and they said at the end of that teaser, 2021. So I am counting that as 2021 because they said it's coming out still in 2021. Dying Light, the original, was a fantastic game. It was everything that I wanted Dead Island to be. Dead Island was a little too slow for me. The combat was kind of stiff. It was very, what's the word? I think I already used it, stiff. It was just kind of janky. I mean, it was still a fun game, but Dying Light was smooth, fast-paced, fluid, and Dying Light 2 just looks even to be a better version of Dying Light. They added wall running, which is really cool. The parkour system looks like it's even better because, there's moments where you see your character jump off of a ledge and then grab and then swing through like a train car and stuff like that. So it looks extremely dynamic. The first-person combat looks like it's been improved. I'm always looking for a better first-person melee combat game, and there really hasn't been any one game outside of Red Steel 2, and Cyberpunk does a pretty good job with first-person melee combat, but it doesn't really go too far with it. It gives you more than most games do, definitely, but it really hasn't pushed the bar in first-person melee combat for me. And while I don't think Dying Light 2 will specifically push first-person melee combat into the stratosphere and make it this incredible, amazing, transformative thing, I do think it will have solid first-person combat, and it will definitely do more than the original and more than a lot of games out there. Now, I know Kingdom Come Deliverance does a really good job with realistic first-person combat, and I know there are other games like Chivalry and stuff like that that also have some pretty good mechanics. But in terms of what I'm looking for, I'm kind of looking for that really flashy third-person combat somehow done in first person. And I don't know if the game like that is ever going to exist in my lifetime, but I hope it does. I really do. And Dying Light 2 is going to be one of those games that pushes it a little bit closer, because you have all those crazy things you can do in Dying Light in terms of the crafting system. You can make crazy types of weapons. You're jumping off of zombies and landing and stabbing other zombies in the chest when you fall on them and stuff like that. That was just in the original, so I can't wait to see where they take it into the next one. those were some games that I am personally looking forward to in 2021. Please feel free to name a list of your own in the comments below. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. Please stay tuned to Talk Gaming. We are back. We are becoming more active. We work full-time jobs, but we also love making videos. So, until the next one, see you all later.